Hey, Marshall Fike here. Uh, finna do my final for debate. It's over mm, the women's rights deal. So I'm gonna do it. All right. All right. So first, for a quick on-time roadmap, we'll be going over first a plan attack, a State Department DA, and then I'll be flipping one of their advantages, which was their trafficking advantage. So first, let's go on to the plan attack. Alright, so the F has not proposed a good policy because they do not know how it will be enforced, and research shows that enforcement is necessary for good government policy, and my evidence is from Halsworth and Rudder from 2011. Successful reforms need to recognize the real world of policymaking. Any serious attempt to improve policymaking needs to look at what has already been tried. Our research suggests the past reforms have tended to fall into one of four traps, and one of these is offering realistic ambitions for policymaking, but not specifying how they will be achieved in practice. Basically, that's saying they don't even know how they're going to enforce this plan, so we can't trust that this is actually a good government policy that they would pass in the real world. And this is going to fit in with my advantage flip later, saying that they don't have solvency in their case. Alright, so next on to my State Department DA. Alright, so the thesis of this DA is currently the State Department is low on resources. And when you do a substantial increase of foreign affairs using the State Department's resources, the State Department is unable to focus on other important areas. This lack of focus causes extremely bad mishaps, such as the Iraq War and Benghazi. While this problem already exists, the affirmative plan will only make it worse, and this makes this a linear DA. Alright, so subpoint A, link. The affirmative team uses the State Department. This is State Department of State deals with all foreign affairs. This is from Kerry in 2015. Many other countries are growing in their economic power, growing in their own sense of independence, and not as willing to just take at face value what some particular alliance dictates. We shouldn't compromise the day-to-day operations of the Department of State. We get 1% of the entire budget of the U.S. Of the USA. Everything we do abroad is within that 1%. Everything, all the businesses we try to help, the visas, the consulate work, the diplomacy, the coordination, all the efforts we have to engage to help do the diplomacy is less than 1%. Alright, subpoint B, internal link. The plan creates trade-offs within the State Department, which lowers department effectiveness. This is from Schaefer in 2016. The State Department is chronically short of resources and personnel. This is not without consequence. The State Department's own effort to cover all the various aspects of national security policy has reduced the department's ability to exercise any leadership. Congress has consistently underfunded the nation's State Department. There has been a distinct failure to address the underlying structural problems. If funds and personnel are increased in one area, then they are not being allocated elsewhere. Subpoint C, more pressure on the State Department's resources will cause problems similar to the mismanagement of the Iraq War. This is from Flaherty in 2007. Representative Henry Waxman, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, says the State Department has made gross missteps in its management of the war, including lax oversight of contractors and not doing enough to curb government fraud and abuse. So basically what these three cards are saying is that they are using the State Department because they deal with all foreign affairs, and once we create this plan, it's only going to lower State Department effectiveness because they're already low on resources. And then this is going to cause mismanagement of stuff like the Iraq War and stuff like Benghazi. So we don't want something like that to happen again or for the problem to continue. Alright, so next on to my DA flip. So first I'd like to point out that they don't have any solvency in their tracking DA. Basically, their solvency is very vague in their in their second advantage. So let's take a look at what their card says. So it says plan is only mechanism key to curb the discriminatory tolerance prevalent in Chinese governmental policies. China implemented the trafficking protocol, but it has neither employed the term abuse of power or the position of vulnerability, nor recognized and implemented these important rights. These mechanisms help address the prevailing gender equality in China that discriminated women in many areas, that has consequently made them vulnerable to trafficking. So with that, we see that they don't actually have the solvency because all it says is that these mechanisms help address the problem. They don't say that it's actually going to solve for trafficking. So So, and I have a card that says they won't even be able to, so this is going against their solvency, even though they have none. That the Chinese federal government can't even implement this plan because they have limited power. It's from Shapiro in 2012. The Chinese government cannot simply say the word and implement a law or a policy. Governance, even in authoritarian countries, is a messy process, and a policy or law on paper is not the same as achieving widespread compliance. This is especially true where state regulatory capacity is weak and non-compliance is widespread, and the government weakens its own capacity through conflicting priorities such as maintaining economic growth and limiting unemployment and social unrest. So basically that's saying they can't even, their law implementing process is not directed towards them, and it's a really messy process, and they don't even have the power to implement something like this. And also, they need the solvency of changing birth laws in China because the birth laws are the main part of China's human trafficking. I have a card here. Birth limitations are a main part of China's human trafficking. This is from State Department of 2016. The Chinese government's birth limitation policy and a cultural preference for sons create a skewed sex ratio of 118 boys to 100 girls in China, which served as a key source of demand for the trafficking of foreign women as brides for the Chinese men and for forced prostitution. Women from Burma, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Mongolia are transported to China after being recruited through marriage brokers or fraudulent employment officers, where they are subsequently subjected to forced prostitution or forced labor. Chinese men and women are subjected to forced labor in many countries around the world. So this is actually saying that the birth limitations actually cause this trafficking. It's not what the affirmative team is saying